Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. 2 years ago I reviewed a Matrix Audio Mini i3 Pro DAC, and the funny thing is that I also reviewed the Mini i2 and the very first Mini I back in 2014, so roughly 9 years ago. I have very fond memories about each of those units. They looked like pieces of modern furniture, and with each release I felt that their feature set was richer and their sound considerably clearer. But considering the year that we're living in, a simple DAC won't cut it anymore. We're no longer listening to offline music. And since Matrix Audio has plenty of experience building wired and wireless streamers, they used all their knowledge in crafting their most affordable wired streamer DAC and preamp, which I'll be reviewing today. It's called Matrix Audio Mini i4. It goes for $650 US, and let's check it out in both a stereo and headphone setup. Matrix Audio is one of the very few brands that put a big accent on the build quality, on the looks on their devices, and that can be felt even with the very first Mini I, which back in 2014 looked like an Apple-made product. Mini i4 has a very similar looking case, but of course it was updated with a colorful display, with touch controls, with iOS and Android support. Build quality wise, we're looking at a metallic case with a glass sheet on its front. We have rubber feet underneath, which elevates it a bit from the ground. And to its sides we have a wave-like pattern made out of plastic, and that's the only part I can complain about. As for controls, we have a single button on top, which will be powering on the unit. We have a high-resolution 3.46-inch LCD touchscreen in the middle, which lets you navigate through its UI. There are two touch panels to the left and right side of the LCD screen, which lets you choose the input and adjust the volume level. Everything else was moved to its rear panel. There you'll find a gigabit Ethernet port, a USB Type-C port to which you can attach storage devices like a flash drive, a portable SSD filled with lossless music. A USB Type-B input will unlock its internal DAC section, and you have an HDMI eARC input to be used with your TV, receiver or media player, and of course the regular coaxial and optical inputs. There is a pair of analog RCA inputs as well, so you can separately use it as an analog preamp. And lastly, you have your regular RCA and XLR outputs, which can offer you a fixed or adjustable voltage output. The Matrix Audio app is very cool to look at, and you can download it from iOS App Store, from Google Play Store, and once you connect the Mini i4 to the internet, it will appear in the app, where you can control its every feature. You can update its firmware from there, you can enable or disable volume control, you can adjust the gain of the RCA input, and if you attach a flash drive filled with music, you can browse and play all that music from the app. You can stream music via Tidal, Qobuz, Hi-Res Audio, and I hear that many other platforms will be added soon. If you don't like its app, then you should know that it's Spotify Connect enabled, it's Tidal Connect enabled, so you can completely bypass that Matrix Audio app. You have internet radio in there as well, and in case you are linking your Tidal and Qobuz accounts, you also have My Favorites tab, where you can find all your playlists or your favorite albums and tracks. The app itself is responsive, and if you are using a gigabit internet connection, then the Mini i4 will lock on those files instantly. Even high-resolution audio files were played back without delay. Checking out its internal components, Matrix Audio is not providing a lot of information. The only things that we know is that it uses a quad-core 2 GHz CPU, which controls every feature of this unit. Lastly, and most importantly, it uses an ES9039 Q2M mobile chip of ESS technology, which is basically their brand new flagship mobile chip, which is pretty amazing. This unit supports high sampler rates up to 32-bit 768 kHz PCME and up to DSD 512, and it also supports that dying MQA format. It also has an RCA input, which tells me that it has an actual line amplifier circuit, which is pretty great. And lastly, you should know that it doesn't have any wireless capabilities, so this is only a wired streamer, DAC and preamp, and it doesn't have any digital output, so you cannot connect a third-party DAC to this unit. Alright folks, this is pretty much it, so let's check how it sounds in both stereo and headphone setup. Before talking about its performance, let's focus our attention a little bit on its feature set and on its price. A few days ago I reviewed that tapping D70 Pro and A70 Pro stack, which at their respective price points performed really good. D70 Pro costs $700 and that is just a DAC and preamp, nothing more. This one is by $50 cheaper, but you are getting a lot more features. So you have a wired streamer, you have streaming services, you can use Tidal Connect, Spotify Connect, Qobuz, so on and so forth. You can add a flash drive to this one and you can use this one as a music server. It has RCA input, so you can use this one as an analog preamp if you will. So clearly there is so much more with this one. So the feature set, when I think about the feature set and price, this one is just a much better deal, for example, compared to D70 Pro. If you are a headphone listener like I am, then you can opt for the Mini i4 Pro, which is very similar unit to this one. It just has two additional headphone jacks, one out of which is a balanced one, 4.4mm output, which provides 2.2 watts of power per channel. But apart from this, you can go with this one and just attach an integrated or a power amplifier. That is basically everything you need to enjoy the sound of this unit. When I just received it, I was honestly a little bit disappointed because it didn't have wireless capabilities. This one is just a wired streamer, DAC and preamp. I was disappointed that it didn't have digital output, so I couldn't connect a third-party DAC. I have plenty of DACs around the house. But when I checked its price, I immediately readjusted my thoughts. So at higher prices, you have plenty of options, starting with that EverSolo DMP-A6, Bluesound, Node X, and much higher priced streamers. But at this exact price point, $650, I don't believe there are many, or really there's nothing that can compete with this one, and that is my honest opinion. Sound-wise, the very first thing you'll notice while using this one in a stereo or headphone setup is that there is an absolute silence in between passages when music starts playing. You can go as loud as you please. You can go max power on your integrated amplifiers or headphone amplifiers, and everything you'll hear is just a noiseless performance. So there are no gremlins playing in the background. You'll hear really nothing coming from those tweeters, from headphone drivers. This one is really a noiseless sounding DAC, preamp and wired streamer, and that makes me quite happy. The second thing that you'll observe is how clean, how transparent and very detailed sounding this one is. So if you care about the measurements, they were able to squeeze 127 dB of dynamic range from those XLR outputs and 121 dB of dynamic range from those RCA outputs. So that is a lot. That is more than their Mini i3 Pro, which by the way is more expensive, and more compared to the Element i2, which by the way is twice the price. So clearly they are trying to squeeze maximum performance out of that ESS chipset. If you like your sound to be pristine, highly detailed, very resolving, then Mini i4 will be doing exactly that. And if you think about it, the most important skill of a streaming DAC is to preserve the signal purity without adding any kind of coloration, without altering any way that signal, and I do believe that Matrix Audio succeeded with this one. Detail retrieval is simply fantastic, it's very good, and you'll be definitely picking up some new nuances from the music that you know for a lifetime. When listening to Out of the Blue by Rinaldo Brun, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing his name correctly, that was quite a shocking experience. There were plenty of acoustic instruments interplaying with each other, but at the same time, nothing felt collapsed on my head. Everything was very sharp, defined. I had a very good note separation, a very good depth. I could focus on everything I wanted. When Ronaldo started humming to the rhythm of the music, that was quite a spooky experience because it played to my left. It was sitting somewhere in that corner. And that was spooky because it felt like it was sitting right there. And although it was just humming, it was not playing, his voice was somehow piercing all those tens of music instruments, and I could focus only on his voice. And that usually happens with very good DA converters, very good wireless streamers. The third thing which you'll observe would be the soundstage depth and just the imaging. So it will be expanding the sounds depending on the music that is being played, or otherwise shrinking everything into a smaller bubble of sounds. So for example, with live recordings, with high dynamic range tracks, I felt that there was more music all around me. And with some cozy jazz tunes, everything was a little bit smaller. So in this regard, it was doing a better job compared to the EverSolo DMP-A6, which was very close, but it was not exactly as holographic like this one. This one was a little bit deeper and a little bit wider. A short comparison will follow, so please keep watching. When I connected this one to my Chord Electronics Ultima 5, I felt that it was really shining with acoustic stuff. To my surprise, it was quite natural sounding, so it was not exactly linear or neutral sounding, and it was a little bit rolling off the top octave. It was providing a really good timing. It was also quite dynamic sounding, and I'm pretty sure that its preamplifier section was giving a helping hand. The fourth and last thing that you'll observe while listening to music is that it has a perfect timing, a very fast decay, especially when music is asking for it. So its transit response is actually very good. And you can feel that with fast modern tunes, with electronica beats. You should brace yourself when those bass notes will be hitting your chest. So you can hear that the sound gets weighty, impactful. So this one, I can call this one as quite punchy sounding with modern tracks. It does justice to electronic music and to any other modern genre, and no matter how hard I tried, it never appeared as mellow, slow, or polite sounding. I also compared it with the EverSolo DMP-A6, which is basically the hottest all-in-one unit at the moment right now. It's more feature-packed, the EverSolo unit. It has wireless capabilities, so you're just connecting it to your Wi-Fi and you start streaming some music. It has digital outputs, so you can connect some third-party DACs. For me personally, that is important. I'm using plenty of DACs around the house, so for me it's slightly more interesting. It has a bigger display, it has digital VU meters, so bling bling a little bit more, but it's also by $200 more expensive, so it's not really a fair fight. The Mini i4 is not room certified yet, but that will be coming soon. And once you attach Ethernet cable to both units, then their feature set is actually very, very close to each other, especially if you are using Tidal Connect and Spotify Connect. So I volume matched both units. That was very important because the EverSolo provides a hotter voltage output. For that, I used a Mini DSP ear system. So I volume matched both units. I used my Chord Electronics Ultima 5 power amplifier and those KEF reference-free loudspeakers that you see behind me. And right off the bat, I felt three things with these units. Let's talk about them. So first of all was the soundstage, holography and imaging, and that was slightly more impressive on the Mini i4. So this one was a little deeper, it was just bigger sounding, and it was filling my room with more sounds compared to the EverSolo unit, which was a little bit shyer sounding in that department. The difference was not big, it was actually quite small, so please don't panic. But this one was definitely a little bit more holographic and more big sounding in a way. The second thing which I observed is detail retrieval, so basically the most important thing of these two units, how much information they can provide to the listener. And I tried some high dynamic range tracks, I tried some music that I know for a lifetime, I used high-end electronics, and no matter how hard I tried, they both sounded exactly as clean, exactly as transparent, so there was actually no difference. They sounded exactly as clean, exactly as detailed, and that is quite interesting. And the last thing which I observed would be their tonality. I can describe the EverSolo unit as neutral, as linear sounding, so it's straight as a line. From the sub bass to the upper treble is just a line. This one felt having a very small roll-off in the upper treble, so the sound is a little bit more organic or smoothed out just a little bit. So if you are treble head, then you will like the sound of the EverSolo a little bit more, but if you like a more relaxed sound in a way, then I believe the Mini i4 will be a better unit for you. So in the end, there isn't so much big of a difference. The big difference lies in their price point and also in their feature set, because this one is more feature-packed compared to the Mini i4, but when this one will have a room certification, then I'm sure plenty will be choosing this one over the EverSolo unit. Wrapping things up, I didn't like that a physical remote control was not included in the package. Of course, you can buy one, it's called RM5 and it goes for $49 US. For me personally, that is a must-have accessory, especially when used in a stereo setup. I like touching things, but I don't like using my smartphone to control its volume or its touchscreen. So for me personally, that is a must-have accessory. I also didn't like that it doesn't have wireless capabilities, that it doesn't have digital outputs to be used with third-party DACs. But if all those things are not important for you, then this is a great sounding streaming DAC and preamplifier. And when I think that others are charging a little bit more for some oversimplified DACs and preamps, then suddenly Mini i4 is a very good recommendation at this price. Right now, this is not a perfect unit. I'm still waiting for that room certification, but once that happens, it will be much closer to that title. So right now, it's just a silver award. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed my review. Thank you guys for watching, for supporting my work. My name is Sando, and I'll see you soon.